I'm Kevin Kearns, president of the U.S. Business and Industry Council, which was founded in 1933 to advocate for American manufacturers in Washington and throughout the country. The U.S. Business and Industry Council is pleased today to present its 2011 Defender of the National Interest Award to Congressman Don Manzullo.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
Congressman Manzullo's many years of service to the people of Illinois and to the people of the nation deserve special commendation. Don Manzullo is one of only a handful of congressmen who recognize the connection between a healthy manufacturing base, good jobs, stable economic growth, and our nation's national security. In his distinguished service in Washington, Don Manzullo has stuck to the basic themes that brought him here in the first place: economic growth, high-paying jobs, low taxation, small but effective government, under control federal budgets and spending, and conservative values. Don Manzullo has been a stalwart defender of domestic American industry, technology, innovation, and job creation for American working men and women. He understands that if our country is going to have meaningful, sustainable jobs, then an economic recovery has to be based on unleashing the talents of the American people to build up productive domestic industries and consumption of domestically made goods, not consumption of subsidized foreign-made goods or borrowing from foreign countries and future generations to do so. Representative Manzullo has resisted the siren call of the special interests that dominate Washington, and that's a very notable accomplishment to anyone who's been here for any length of time. He has demonstrated time and again that he understands the centrality of domestic manufacturing and technology businesses to the creation of jobs in our country. He has consistently backed legislation that aids our manufacturers and defends them from unfair foreign trade practices. He was one of the first members of Congress to take on the Chinese government for keeping its currency massively undervalued, as well as for its intellectual property theft and illegal subsidies to businesses that operate in China. He understands that American businesses cannot compete against Chinese businesses or even U.S.-owned businesses that operate in China that are provided by the Chinese government with a 40% undervalued currency and illegal subsidies, no matter how much we streamline our tax and regulatory system. He uses his current position on the House Foreign Affairs Committee to stay on top of the trade and economic situation in Asia, where most of the world's trade takes place. Don founded the 80-member House Manufacturing Caucus in 2003 to give a larger voice to the concerns of manufacturers and their employees. As chairman of the House Small Business Committee, from 2001 to 2006, he held over 60 hearings on domestic U.S. manufacturing and introduced important legislation to allow American businesses to compete on equal grounds in the global marketplace. In 2004, President Bush signed into law his American Jobs Creation Act, which provides a substantial tax deduction for manufacturing based in the United States. USBIC brought to Representative Manzullo's attention the fact that the model used by the Bureau of Labor Statistics tends to undercalculate U.S. productivity and is seriously flawed. Don was right on top of it. He held 3 hearings and discovered that U.S. productivity gains tend to be overstated and are likely counting cost savings from the outsourcing of U.S. jobs as productivity gains. In 2011, Don Manzullo stood strong against the so-called America Invents Act, with its radical changes to the unique American patent system, which were being pushed by large multinational corporations. Don came quickly and enthusiastically to the aid of individual and small business inventors so they could prevent their ideas and patents from being stolen by the large-scale enterprises, and their innovation could remain a central component of U.S. technological advancement. I just digress for 1 second. The first briefing that we held for the House on this matter, The room was filled. There were 100 staffers. There was one congressman who came into that briefing and stayed to learn what the real story was. That was Don Manzullo. And he had a hearing, he left the hearing, and he came back to learn more. Don Manzullo is soft-spoken, but he's effective. You don't get hype, you don't get rhetoric, you get results with Don Manzullo. In short, Don Manzullo is a proven champion of domestic American manufacturing, entrepreneurs, and working people. For his dedication and service, he deserves the highest recognition. And today, we'd like to present him with this award. The U.S. Business and Industry Council proudly presents Congressman Don Manzullo the 2011 Defender of the National Interest Award for his extraordinary dedication and service, advancing the cause of domestic American manufacturing and jobs for working Americans, as well as his unflinching support for individual and small entity inventors. Don, this is a well-deserved award.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for all your service.
We've had a very long and fruitful association with the U.S. Business and Industry Council and with David Kearns as president for years. I chaired the Small Business Committee for 3 terms. I know how valuable USBIC is to job creators and small business owners in this country. We've worked for years on advancing the cause of domestic manufacturing, overcoming within the Republican Party several attempts to actually penalize American production, and then coming to fruition several years ago on the bill when I, as chairman of the Small Business Committee, fought the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee,
Right.
and succeeded on all fronts so that any organization, any entity, regardless of size, if they produce in the United States, they get a 9% tax cut. And USBIC is really responsible for standing behind me and bringing together all the little guys out there in order to fight the Ways and Means chairman, who in the end recognized the fact that we were correct in our position, and I think very graciously allowed the bill to be changed to reflect what we wanted to do. The other thing that, or 2 other things, is on the patent bill. It was a 19-year fight for me. We lost it this year, but to say that we made a bad bill less worse, okay, that would be correct.
That's right.
If that's good grammar.
Yeah.
In other words, we took a lot of sting out of the bill.
It's good logic.
It's whatever it was, we were faced with a bad bill, but over a period of time, we were able to shape it so that the bill that eventually passed was less worse than it could have been. Okay.
And it's probably going to go to the Supreme Court.
It's probably going to the
gonna be
Supreme Court
challenged,
on the issue of first to file versus the first inventor's rights on it. And then we had a really interesting time on the issue of productivity. We had was it BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics
right.
came in, and we had 3 roundtables, hearings on the issue of productivity. That's never been done in Congress before, because most members of Congress are not engaged in manufacturing as much as I am. And Kevin, you guys were a vital part of that roundtable. And I think in helping to educate the Bureau of Labor Standards people who were, they were honest and earnest in what they wanted to do, but I don't think they realized the ramifications of showing U.S. productivity, taking into consideration the fact that so-called savings from imported goods were considered to be productive. It just didn't make sense. But in any case, I've always respected USBIC. Kevin has always done a terrific job of keeping members of Congress fully informed as to all the issues. And one thing that I noticed about Kevin and USBIC is that when you guys, that's Midwest, but when you guys latch on to an issue, you're just unrelenting. These are emotional. You're dealing with American jobs and the future of American manufacturing. And I can't thank USBIC enough for all the help, the research that you've given me, and the support as we've moved the agenda on keeping manufacturing in America. So thank you, Kevin.